The county DA gig, the attorney general of this county, who oversees a bunch of other attorneys and prosecutes criminals, and in this city there's no shortage of those either. That's Amy Wyrick, who took the job over from Bill Gibbons when Bill went to run the Homeland Security Department of the state. Amy's been here a lot. She's a very nice lady who we like personally and professionally. But that office is up for re-election. A man named Joe Brown, not the one on the city council, the one who was a TV judge, who overestimates his worth and place on this planet like nobody in a long time. Kyle Veazey wrote about this. Now, last week we discussed his most recent ass-showing incident of suggesting that Amy Wyrick was a lesbian whose husband had left her and that she was on the down low. That's about as low as you can possibly go, and as desperate as any politician I've ever seen. He had, along with a guy running for the sheriff's office, Benny Cobb, don't know Mr. Cobb, they had a Law and Order tour last Wednesday for the media and for their supporters. Kyle says he walked into the room at 3 o'clock when it was to begin, and there was nobody in there but Mr. Brown and his associates. Nobody showed up. So he talked to Mr. Brown for about an hour about various issues, and they were laced with criticisms of Miss Wyrick and so on. A bunch of babbling, I'm guessing. By the time he left at 4 o'clock, about 6 people had showed up.
This is for a rally.
This is for a big rally. Campaign financial disclosures filed midweek show a widening financial gap. Brown has raised $4,400 in the time frame of late April to late June. Miss Wyrick has raised $171 grand. It's a $167,000 disparity. Brown smiled, Kyle says, when I asked him about the disclosures about the money, and he said it was really part of his plan to lull Wyrick into thinking that his campaign didn't have any money as of the June 30th deadline. The financial cavalry would come calling after July 1, he seemed to indicate. It's July 14. I haven't seen that cavalry. Then this dog and pony show went over to the First Baptist Church of Lakeland on Canada Road. There was a candidate forum. 7 of the 8 seats on stage were occupied. Candidates for county mayor, sheriff, and property assessor. The seat beside Amy Wyrick was vacant. At the end, as each candidate had given their 2-minute closing statement, Mr. Brown showed up and strutted down the right-hand aisle of the church and sat down in the front row. The crowd murmured.
I bet they did.
Mr. Brown sought out the event's host and got his 2-minute speech on stage with the stipulation that Wyrick would be allowed to respond. He delivered a speech, Kyle Veazey writes, that chiefly recounted his tenure as a criminal court judge before he leapt to his TV judge fame. Among the items, a mention of his involvement with James Earl Ray in the early 1990s, a case from which Brown was removed by a state appeals court. He told the crowd, Ray was not the gunman. I know that because the matter was in my court, a court from which he was removed. Miss Wyrick offered a quick rebuttal that ended with her asking if the audience wanted a workhorse as DA or a show horse. It was a drop-the-mic moment, Kyle writes. Much of the crowd leapt to their feet with applause. Moments later, Brown waited at the back of the church as Amy walked out. He said in her direction, I'm gonna whip you. Badly. Wyrick breezed by without making eye contact, and the proverbial credits rolled on one more episode in the real-life Judge Joe Brown show.
Just
What an asshole.
Yeah, and by the look of the yard signs and support that Ms. Wyrick has, I think he's going to have his ass handed to him and be told to take it on down the road somewhere else.